Rabbi, we like the other view better.
I like this view.
Thank you so much. All right. This is just me. I'm going to take off my mask. Hi, Joan. It's good to see your name on there. And what I wanted to do this morning was to just share. Oh, I like you. Is that Yoda?
Yes.
Yoda. Yoda. Okay, good. Good. To talk a little bit about the Jewish ghost stories and stories of the occult, and just to give a little bit of history. We are having a fire drill this morning at 9:45. So there will be a pause as I need to. You guys can stay there. You don't have to leave your homes and go outside. The fire drill is just for those who are here at Temple Jeremiah. So I'm going to share my screen and give you just a little bit of the history of, let's see, share. Okay, so I'm going to do play from the start. Just went black, don't worry. It's going to come up in a second. There we go. So let's go to the beginning. Golems, Dybbuks, and Ghosts, a Jewish Halloween study. And the most well-known of the, I guess there are two categories that were made very well known to us, the golem and the Dybbuk. And we're going to talk a little bit about the golem and where that whole idea comes from, and then to the Dybbuk as well, and then on to demons in general, if we have the time to do all of that. So the first is that from the very beginning, in the Babylonian Talmud, which is that second layer of commentary on the Torah, there's a discussion of the creation of the first human being. And this is from the tractate called Sanhedrin, 38 on the B side of the page. And Rabbi Yochanan Bar Chanina says, daytime is 12 hours long, right? So we know that there's going to be an hour by hour description of the creation of the first human being. And what he says is that Adam, the first man, was created, and the day Adam, the first day, was created, was divided as follows. In the first hour of the day, his dust was gathered. So this is from the second creation story, right? In the first creation story, God simply speaks and the human being is created. That first human being is created. Hi, Shelly, come on in. Come on in. So the first, where you can see the screen.
Oh my God.
So
Rabbi,
the first, yes.
I have this thing on my iPad. It says this meeting is being recorded by the host for participant. So it won't come off, and there it is. It's been on, and I can only see you in a little corner.
That's Jeannie.
Yeah, Jeannie, you should, my screen is being shared. You can see the text that I'm reading.
I know, but in the middle, it says this meeting is being recorded.
Right, just click the X.
Oh my God.
Just click on the X. And it'll go away.
Or it may say okay, and then click on the okay.
Oh, got it. Okay. Okay, I got that. Now I have a half a screen of Babylonian Talmud.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you.
All right. All right. So in the second creation story, we read about God creating the first human, the first man, by gathering clay together, by gathering the earth together. And that's how Adam is called Adam, from Adamah, from the word for the earth, for the dust. So this is where Rabbi Yochanan is focusing on, this whole idea of God fashioning the first human being out of clay, out of earth, out of dirt. Okay, so far so good? Give me a thumbs up if it's okay. All right, good. So in the first hour of the day, his dust was gathered. In the second the dust was gathered, an undefined figure. And this is where we get the word golem first, right? A golem is a lifeless statue, if you will, a form of a human, right? And so this is where we get the idea that out of clay, this clay fashioned together is first as a golem, right? And then in the third hour, his limbs were extended. In the fourth, a soul was cast into him. In the fifth, he stood on his legs. In the sixth, he called the creatures by the names he gave them. In the seventh, Eve was paired with him. In the eighth, they arose to the bed, 2, and descended 4, right? That is, they had children. Cain and Abel were immediately born. In the 9th, it was commanded not to eat of the tree of knowledge. In the 10th, he sinned. In the 11th, he was judged. In the 12th, he was expelled and left the Garden of Eden, as it is stated, but man abides not in honor. He is like the beasts that perish. Adam did not abide, I sleep in a place of honor for even one night. Okay, so the intention of this midrash is not necessarily giving us the origin of the golem alone, although I wanted to bring it forward because it is the first mention of it. But what else is happening in this particular midrash? Right, it's a blow by blow of the first day that a human being was created, or first human beings were created, and that within just the span of 12 hours, all of this transpired, and that Adam and Eve were cast out of the garden on that very first day of their existence, right? So everything transpired. They had children, and they sinned, and they were judged. And then they didn't even get to sleep one night. And that's what the quotation from the Psalms is here, right? But man abides not in honor. He is like the beasts that perish. That is, Adam did not abide, sleep in a place of honor, that is the Garden of Eden, for one night, okay? Let me pause to see if there are any questions or comments on this first text. Okay? All right, let's continue. There's our friend, Frankenstein's monster, right? And we're going to talk a little bit more about the connection between the golem story and Mary Shelley's great work of science fiction, Frankenstein. So, in Sanhedrin, also, there is this remarkable statement. Rava says, if the righteous wish to do so, they can create a world as it is stated, but your iniquities have separated between you and your God. In other words, there is no distinction between God and a righteous person who has no sins. And just as God created the world, so can the righteous. This is a pretty amazing statement, right? That it is within the power of the person who is completely righteous to create just as God creates. That is very, very remarkable, and sets the stage for what comes next. Indeed, Rava created a man. And here, the Hebrew is very, very helpful, right? Here, this Rava created a man is Rabba bara Gavra. Rabba bara Gavra, right? And it sounds to me like an incantation, right? That these are magic words that are stated and give a sense of the magical or the miraculous quality. And it harkens back to the words that a magician uses, abracadabra, right? Ebara kedabra, I will create with my speech, right? Ebara kedabra, I will create with my speech. So here, Rava bara Gavra. Indeed, Rava created a man, a golem. using forces of sanctity, right? So using this power of righteousness that he possessed, he was able to create a human. Rava sent his creation before Rabbi Zera, and Rabbi Zera would speak to him, but he would not reply. That is, the golem was not endowed with the power of speech. So even though he was able to create a golem, it wasn't a full human, right? It didn't do exactly what God had done. So Rava Baragavra, it is a golem that he creates. Rabbi Zera said to the golem, you were created by one of the members of the Chevraya, of the group, one of the sages. Return to your dust, right? So Rabbi Zera is at odds with this creation and says this is not something that should be done, and he destroys this golem. Okay, let me pause here for a second and see if there are comments or questions. Shelley.
Going back to the one before.
Yes.
It was a righteous man who could create a golem.
Yes.
So according to that, then this person is not a righteous man.
Well, okay, that's our fire
I
drill.
know.
Okay, we will be back. Okay. You should take your
Danny
jacket.
told me.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get my mask.
Okay.
I can't believe that nobody is here today. I would think this would be such a gorgeous day.
Anybody have coffee?
Bring the little guy up.
Is this the fire drill breakout room?
Yeah,
Yeah. So what's new, anybody?
what's new?
Can't think.
We're going up to our grandchildren this afternoon and kind of supervise some trick or treating, so that'll be fun.
Oh, how old are they?
12 and 8.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
2 girls.
Are they in costume? Do you know?
They
Yeah.
will be, yes.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in costume too. I'm going to pretend I'm an adult.
I don't know, can you do that?
I don't think so.
It'll take some effort. We'll see.
So sometimes being an adult is a tremendous strain.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, be a grown up. Geez, I've had enough being a grown up.
Want to start over again?
Partially.
I don't think I want to go to school again.
Yeah.
It was a lot of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I hope I'm still learning something
Everything is
that I can remember it tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's the challenge, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easier to learn it than to remember it.
Okay.
Take notes, darling. Take notes.
Barry, how many years did you go to school?
Starting from kindergarten?
No, for your medical
Well, medical school.
career.
Medical school, you have college and medical
Mhm.
school. And then after medical school, you have 3 more years. It's a long time.
Mhm.
This is so cute.
And then I played sailor.
Oh.
Mhm.
Yeah. I went to see the world.
Oh, thank you.
Made a man out of you.
I think we're all still learning every day, but it's not necessarily formal learning. You learn how to do things and how to talk to people, and it never stops. If you stop learning, I think you don't exist. I mean, it may be something as simple as, growing something or a new recipe, but you're always able to learn something.
Mhm.
I
Very true.
agree, Vicky. Every day when I learn something new, it's like, oh, wow. That's great, because at one point in your life, you think you know it all or not, or you've lived it all. But the reality is it's never over. It's every day is another day.
I never got there. I always knew I didn't know it all.
Oh, no, I don't mean literally know it all. God knows. But
Yeah, he does.
God knows he does. You're right.
I always say I know a lot, but there's so much I don't know. There's so much more than I don't know.
That's really why we're here. It's to pick up those blank spots that we don't know.
Mm.
And actually, some people that I've sort of never known before that I've become acquainted with through all these Zoom meetings, I feel like I've known them forever.
Mhm.
It's really a very sweet feeling.
It is, indeed. I often think, what if we didn't have Zoom at this last year and a half? I think we would all
I think we'd go more
go
in
crazy,
classic books and stuff like that.
possibly, yeah. But I love my Zoom. It's just FaceTime, Zoom. Hey,
Well, there's a
That's
lot of
great.
congregations that don't have the technology to do this, or because of their traditions, choose not to.
Yeah,
that's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
probably the Orthodox.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And small congregations too, that some of which don't have even a physical plant, and they just meet once a month or something like that. They can't possibly do this, I wouldn't think. Maybe they do.
I don't know, one of my daughters belongs to it's a very small congregation, and they do it on Zoom,
Oh, do
they
they?
do?
Okay.
and they have I think 150 congregants.
Oh,
Okay.
that's good.
Is that hard to learn?
Yeah, that's Har Shalom in Highland Park.
Mhm.
Oh,
Haven't heard of it.
Of,
Yeah, that's what's left of B'nai Torah.
Ah,
oh, those are leftovers.
mhm.
Did any one of you belong to Torah?
I did for about 35 years.
ah,
And then
Did
he
you
met
know? Did you know Sonia Cass?
Oh, sure.
Very, very dear friend of mine.
Oh, yeah.
And Harold. Yeah,
She played the
the piano, the organ.
Yeah, for years.
Well, she was a child protege. So she was very, very talented and very smart.
No, she was
So,
good.
yeah, my husband and I were very, very good friends with both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Oh, yeah.
but, yeah.
All my kids were bar bat mitzvah there with Shalom Singer.
Oh, yeah.
It was a very large, thriving congregation until Megadovich destroyed it.
Yeah, it's amazing that one person can destroy a village. This was an amazing congregation.
Oh, yeah, we had over 900 families.
Yeah.
and the most
I'm
beautiful.
not familiar. Was it a problem with administration, with a rabbi? I don't know.
It was basically the rabbi.
Hmm.
He created dissension?
Well, he started to tell the board how they should run the place, and really gave him a hassle. They eventually fired him, and then when he got fired, he formed a competing congregation, and took about a third.
Oh, that's a big number.
Yeah, and then about a third eventually quit, and after 2 years, he gave up and moved to Israel. Where last I heard, he was selling refrigerators.
Oh, is that right? Wow.
All
And I
right.
heard that he was a taxi driver.
Well, he mentioned that too.
Yeah.
We're talking about Jonathan Megadovich.
Oh,
Okay.
Is that a Halloween subject?
I did. I was just wondering what the connection was to the study of the golem and the Dybbuk and all of the Dybbuk maybe. You can
Well,
tell me.
we were talking about my former congregation, B'nai Torah.
Yeah. All right, so Where were we? Right, so the question was about righteousness, right? So Rabbi was righteous enough to create. Yeah, Alan.
Yeah, I'm confused about how a mortal has the ability and what the process is to create like God created. I don't quite analogize. I don't get it.
Right, so that so the idea is that you can tap in to that same power through righteous behavior, right? So was this really a lesson about, if you get to a certain level, you'll be able to create like God creates? I don't think so. I think that it was much more about the idea that you should strive for righteousness. You should strive to be God-like. Just as God is compassionate, you should be compassionate. Just as God is patient, you should be patient. Those 13 attributes of God that Moses was able to experience. Remember with the smashing of the tablets that Moses asks to see God's face, and God says, no one can see my face and live. And God says, but I'll show you my back, and you'll see my glory pass before you. And so we have this statement, Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun, Erech Apayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emet. And so what Moses experiences is God's attributes of compassion, of patience, of kindness, of generosity. And so it's really not about, how can I get to the point where I can create like God creates? I don't think that was really the intention of this particular teaching, but simply to highlight the fact that if you attain this level of righteousness, there's no separation between you and God, right? That sin is what separates us. Our iniquities are what separate us, right? That's the lesson here, I think. But for our purposes in studying about the golem, right, that on the other hand, they really did believe that this was possible, right? They wrote about it and they believed that this was possible. And there's this tradition that Rava was righteous enough to be able to do this. And that it wasn't surprising to them. It wasn't surprising to Rabbi Zera. He wasn't scared by it. He understood immediately what this golem was, right? So he says, Rabbi Zera, when the golem was unable to respond to him, he immediately knew that this was a golem, and was able to, because of his righteousness, was able to say, return to your dust. Yeah, Jeannie.
Having a problem. How was it that, is this not sacrilegious to create a human where we're supposed to believe that God is the one who does this? That a man can duplicate?
Well, you could say that the duplication is not an exact duplication, right? Because this golem doesn't have the power to speak, and the golem, right? So what it's not a full human being, right? So that they're not creating a full human being here. They're creating something that is less than, right? It isn't capable of speech, is one of the things that distinguishes it from the way that God creates, and so it is not necessarily sacrilegious, but it's not something that is encouraged, right? So this is not something that ends well. It doesn't end well, and we're going to see how that transpires with the unfolding of this story. But that's the issue. Okay, so let's go to the next, right? So the Gemara, which is again the essence of the Talmud, relates another fact substantiating the statement that the righteous could create a world if they so desired. Rabbi Hanina and Rab Oshaya would sit every Shabbat Eve and engage in the study of Sefer Yetzirah. So this is a Kabbalistic text. The Sefer Yetzirah is the book of creation, right? And a third-born calf, Igla Tilta, would be created for them, and they would eat it in honor of Shabbat. Right? So here now, they're not creating a human, they're creating a calf that is edible. And I couldn't help but think about what's being done now with the creation of body parts, of organs, through this duplication, these 3D printers essentially, where instead of putting plastic in them to create something out of plastic, they're able to use human tissue to do this. They're also creating meat that is not coming from an animal, but it's still animal meat. And so it is amazing to me how close we are to this, not through Kabbalistic incantations and the study of these texts, but that actually through technology, this is happening now, right this moment, actually. Right. So they would create this calf, and it was a calf that could be eaten. So they're not creating a human at this point, but they are creating a living creature. This third born calf, that is a calf that's old enough to serve as a meal for them, and they would eat it.
But cloning is the same thing, isn't it?
Right. So cloning is something, a technology also that we are doing now, that it seems very, very close to what is being described here in the Gemara. Right.
So in other words, the golem is a physical being.
Yes.
I don't even know if you call it being. It's physical, but it does not have a brain, obviously. Does it have eyes?
Yeah, and we'll get to that. I'll show you here. Here's one of the imaginings of a golem, which is kind of a faceless beast, right? You're clearly not human, although humanoid, right? It looks.
Rabbi, we can only see half a page.
You can only see half a page.
The left, it looks like
The left side.
the left side of a page.
Hold on a
Yes.
second. I've got to let Ilan in. Let me just, how am I going to do this? Let me,
It says fifth to window.
yeah, you should be able to. Let me just hold on a second. We just saw that Ilan entered the room. Come on in.
There you go.
Where's-
We can see
All
it.
right, we got it.
You got it now.
Okay, so let me admit Ilan. Okay, so can you see the?
Yeah.
Yeah, it must,
Okay.
Elon must have brought it up because now we can see it.
Okay, can you see the rest of my screen, or can you just see the PowerPoint?
We see the whole screen.
We see the whole screen.
Okay. All right, so if I go back to the slideshow. So can you see what's on my desktop, or can you see?
What's on a
what-
desktop?
Okay, so let me just go back to the full screen again. It's going to take a second.
Now it's half screen.
I'm not sure why that is.
Is it-
Uh,
Is it like that for everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's try this slide. How about this one?
Half screen.
Still half.
Half screen.
We don't even have.
This one I can't see at all.
Huh.
Now it's
Okay.
half.
So let me do it this way then. But the other ones were okay.
No, they were half. Now it's fine. It's good. Oh. Are we,
Yeah, we got the whole picture now.
And on the side are more scenes.
Right, right, right. So that should not be. Let me just do this. How's that?
Looks the same.
Looks the same. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll just keep it like this for now then.
Okay.
Okay, so this is one of the pictures of the imaginings of what a golem would be like. And here's another one.
Mhm.
Do you see click to add title?
Yes.
Mhm.
This is not what I want.
Oh, I like to create a golem to cook your meals and clean house.
Okay, how is that now?
Half screen.
Half screen.
Half screen, so you don't see all of the text?
Correct.
Correct.
We got Golems W.
It was a she.
Yay.
How about now?
Yes.
There you
yeah,
go.
now we got it.
Yeah,
Ah, okay. Now we're cooking. Okay, so mostly male, right? Though occasionally, right, and I'm gonna put you guys up here, though occasionally, the occasional appearance of she golems cast an intriguing light on gender roles of the time. The Andalusian poet and philosopher Solomon ibn Gabriel supposedly created a golem maidservant to cook his meals and keep house for him.
Here's,
Cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
So, and then here, you're gonna love this. Whoops. Why is this not advancing? Let's try this. There we go. So here,
That looks like Mary Shelley.
yeah, so this 16th century mystical text, Shnei Luchot HaBrit, the two tablets of the covenant, by Rabbi Isaiah Horowitz, tells of the creation of a beautifully silent golem. A golem quasi-concubine for sexual relations.
lovely.
When accused of lewdness, Rabbi Horowitz defended himself, saying that since golems are not born from men's semen or grown in a woman's womb, sex with a golem is not a sin.
Oh, oh, that's a man writing.
Oh, absolutely, it's a man writing. There is
can't
no
even make that
question.
up.
Is there a female version that she could have sex with a male golem and it not would be a sin?
I believe that would be true. It would have to be true, right? I haven't seen the text, but I thought you would get a kick out of this one.
Oh, definitely.
All right, so now this is another depiction of the golem. This one has now better defined facial features, but you can see the Hebrew letters here, Aleph, Mem, Taf, which spells the Hebrew word emet, which means truth. And so this in this particular telling, the golem is brought to life when those letters are inscribed on his forehead. And when you want to destroy the golem, you erase that first letter Aleph, and it spells the word mate, which means death. And the golem ceases to exist. So here, in just kind of elucidating on this is from the Midrash, Reshit Rabbah, and again, to elucidate on the creation of first humans, to give us a sense of what it is that we can expect or create in our own way. I said, Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar, in the hour when the Holy One created the first human, God created him as androgynous, right? As it is said, male and female, God created them. So this is now the first creation story. Remember that text that we began with was really focused on the second creation story that had Adam being gathered together, from starting from dust. And again, the creation of the first woman is from Adam's side, right? So here, said Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, in the hour when the Holy One created the first human, God created him as double face or du partsufin, two faces, and sawed him and made him backs, a back here and a back there, as it is said, And this is a quotation from Psalm 139. Achor Kedem, back and before you formed me. And then it continues. They objected to him, but it says God took one of his ribs, right? So this is now jumping ahead to the second creation stories. Salaot, God said to them, it means one of his sides, sitrohi, just as you would say, and for the side, the tzela of the tabernacle, the Mishkan, again, quoting how the tabernacle was to be made and talking about the sides, what the sides were to be made of, which they translate in Aramaic, right? There's an Aramaic translation of Torah for the side, seter, right? And so it's again a wordplay, but what they're trying to get at is what was this creation of the first human like, right? And Rabbi Tanchuma, in the name of Rabbi Banaya, and Rabbi Berechia, in the name of Rabbi Elazar, said, in the time that the Holy One created Adam Harishon, the first person, as a golem, God created him, and he was set up from one end of the world unto its end. That's what is written. Your eyes saw my golem, unformed limbs. This is again from that same quotation of Psalm 139. Rabbi Yeshua bar Nechemiah and Rabbi Yehuda bar Shimon in Rabbi Elazar's name said, God created him filling the whole world, right? So again, it's talking about this setup of there's a stage of creation where human beings are golems, right? They are without thought, without the ability to speak, right? And so it again translates forward as to what it is that we create or possibly could create if we attain that level of righteousness. Again, from where do we know that he extended from the east to the west? Back Achor, after the place of sunset, and before east Kedem, right, the place of the sunrise. You formed and enclosed me, Sartani, from where they went from north to south, that it says, from the edges of the heavens until the edge of the heavens, and from where that he filled even the world's hollow spaces, that said, and you laid your palm upon me. So all of this is to say that the first human being was really filled the whole world. And it was this golem, this gigantic being that was not quite a full human being yet. Okay, let me pause for a moment. This is a lot. This is just, again, where does this idea of golem come from? And here it's coming from these texts and these understandings of the creation of the first human being. Okay. Any questions, comments? Yeah, Shelley.
Seeing the picture of the golem, it reminded me of the fetus
Yeah.
in the side of the woman's stomach. So if you're talking about the whole world, that fetus could be encompassing.
Yes. Yes. Very good. Right. And that's it really does fill its own world.
Yeah.
Right. That's all that it knows. And then when it's born and becomes fully human, right, then it assumes the shape that we understand as the shape of a human
This
being.
is just
Yeah.
actually telling us.
Yeah. Very good.
Interesting.
Very good. So here I wanted to share this short video talking about the golem and the history of the golem. And give me a thumbs up if you can see and hear this.
Can't do.
30 Years' War, the Cossack Revolt, and the massacres of the Jewish people.
Can you hear it?
They were also accused of blood libel, or the
Yeah.
ritual of Christian children. They needed a redeemer, a symbol of hope. So they turned back to their folklore and to the golem. This mud and earth-formed humanoid creature turns up in many tales, and not only in Jewish, but non-Jewish stories. Golem stories have survived over time, persisting in oral and written folklore. But it was during times of genocide and war that the story of the golem holds the most significance. I'm Dr. Emily Zarka, and this is Monstrum. In Jewish folklore, there are 3 reasons to create a golem: as a way to show one's mastery of the Kabbalah, to have a trustworthy and dependable servant for labor, or to provide protection for the Jewish community. You've likely seen a golem, even if you didn't recognize it at the time. He's taken lots of different forms in recent years, inspiring characters in The Simpsons, Pokemon, Dungeons and Dragons, Arthur, and even the X-Files. But golems can be traced back to 6th century Jewish culture. He's old as dirt. The golem story most widely known is the early 20th century version of the Golem of Prague. In it, Rabbi Lowe asked the heavens how to stop the persecution of his community, and he received an answer: make a golem. To do this, he seeks the help of 2 other rabbis, each born with the power of one of the 4 elements. The rabbis represented air, fire, and water. Clay collected from the river served as the earth element. The rabbis take the clay and shape the form of a man. They each walk around the form counterclockwise 7 times, reciting special letters. The body begins to glow and vapors rise from the form. The golem opens his eyes, now a living thing. The Golem of Prague is named Yosef and looks human, but cannot speak. Rabbi Lowe tells the golem he was created to guard the Jewish people from their enemies. Yosef has supernatural strength and can become invisible with the help of a special amulet. He completes many tasks, serving as a watchman, rescuing a kidnapped girl, and even summoning a dead woman. The Golem of Prague is only one version of the golem. Others have existed for thousands of years. One could be brought to life by a Jewish scholar, usually a rabbi, and God's name is required in some way to actually bring it to life. You can animate a golem by reciting the proper letters of God's name, placing God's name into the golem's mouth, affixing it to the forehead, or by placing the Hebrew word for truth into the clay body. To understand why the golem is created from dirt, first we have to take a quick look at another creation story, one found in the Torah, the foundational text of Judaism. There it is said that God created Adam, the first man, by forming him from the dust of the earth and breathing life into him. Jewish scholars developed the golem legend based on the Adam creation story. Historians point to a section of the Talmud where a rabbi created an artificial man who was like any other, except he could not speak, for only God could give that power, which explains why all traditional variations of the golem are mute. In later versions, the creature becomes dangerous or hard to control because it gains power the longer it is animated, or it simply takes direction too literally. Looking back to the Golem of Prague, perhaps the singular most important character in these stories, even more so than the golem himself, is Rabbi Lowe, a real person and noted leader of the Jewish community in 16th century. Interestingly, Lowe himself didn't believe in miracles, condemned magic, and never wrote about the golem. In 1909, a manuscript supposedly written by Rabbi Lowe's son-in-law was discovered by Orthodox Rabbi Yudel Rosenberg, although it's generally agreed that this document never existed. He then published his version of the Golem of Prague, which became one of the most important golem legends. The late 19th century was the first time the golem became not just a means of labor, but a protector of the Jewish people. In the 19th century, there were multiple cases of blood libel, an anti-Semitic accusation that claims a Jewish person ritualistically murdered a Christian, usually a child. Rabbi Rosenberg was all too familiar with this. There was a blood libel case near Prague in 1899, as well as organized violence against the Jewish people in Russia at the turn of the 20th century. It makes sense that he would portray the golem in his story as a protector at a time when his people really needed one. In 1917, the Golem Legends of the Ghetto of Prague, the next popular text featuring Rabbi Lowe, was published. The Jewish author was part of the community forced to relocate to the interior of Austria after the Russian invasion. Although similar to Rosenberg's version, in this story, Rabbi Lowe is forced to destroy the golem, here named Joseph, because he becomes a danger to the entire city. Nevertheless, the story ends with the golem waiting in the attic of a synagogue in Prague to be reawakened the next time persecuted Jews need protecting. The increase in Jewish migration throughout the 20th century helped spread the golem story. We've seen it in movies, ballet, children's books, and comics. But in each new version, it has continued to change form. The original goal of creating a golem was to make something more powerful than yourself. In most cases, this was not done to oppress or control anyone, but to give the creator and their community agency, even freedom. What began as a way to demonstrate mastery of a religious text morphed into an unintended monster, and was later reclaimed as a protector. Golem's story is as malleable as the clay from which it was formed. Hi, Monstrum fans. Lord Socrates, Fancy Pants, and I want to tell you about our friends over at America from Scratch, a PBS digital studio show that's basic.
Okay. So I just wanted to share that pulling together many of the elements that we were talking about from the texts, from the Talmud and from the Midrash. And now in looking at the question of demons and the Dybbuk in particular, I wanted to share a text from Pirkei Avot, from chapter 5, and this is passage number 6. And this we've looked at before. 10 things were created on the eve of the Sabbath, the first Sabbath, right? So the seventh, the beginning of the seventh day, or just before the seventh day of creation, at twilight. And these are they: the mouth of the earth, right? This is the mouth of the earth that swallowed Korach. The mouth of the well, and this was the miraculous well of water that followed the Israelites in their wandering in the desert, that was attributed to Miriam's merit. The mouth of the donkey, this is Balaam's donkey, the talking donkey that sees the angel before him. The rainbow from the story of Noah. The manna, the food that came down from heaven, again during the Israelites' wanderings. The staff of Moses that turned into the snake in the first demonstration to the Pharaoh. The shamir, which is this incredibly hard shelled creature that it gets the blue ink, the special blue ink. The letters and the writing and the tablets. So the letters are the letters that formed the Torah, and the writing and the tablets, that these are all because the letters or the writing on the tablets went all the way through, right? So it was from the front to back, and how that was able to be done is seen as a miracle. So all of these things that are miraculous are part of pre-creation, right? And not necessarily miracles that happened in that particular moment. And some say also the demons. That's the why I wanted to bring this text forward, that demons were thought to be real and a part of the natural order of creation. The grave of Moses, which is undiscovered, right? That's very secret. The ram of Abraham that was at the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. And some say also tongs, right? Because, you can't create tongs without using tongs as a blacksmith, right? So where did the first tongs come from? So just as a precursor to introduce the idea that demons were a part of Jewish thought, that this was a part of what God created. And again, they continue to teach about demons, right? And this is the Avot de Rabbi Natan, a text of commentary on Pirkei Avot. 6 things can be said of demons: 3 ways in which they are like human beings, and 3 ways in which they are like the angels who serve God. The 3 ways that they are like human beings: they eat and drink like human beings, they reproduce like human beings, and they die like human beings, right? So there are demons among us. Then the 3 things that the angels, they serve God, they have wings like the angels who serve God. They know that what will happen in the future like angels who serve God, and they can move from one end of the world to the other like the angels who serve God. And some say that they can also change their faces into any form they wish, and that they can see but are themselves unseen, right? So there's actually detailed conversation about demons that occurs in, and these are not esoteric texts of Judaism. This is not Kabbalah. This is in the normative texts of our tradition. And so what I wanted to do was to play a very well-known clip from Fiddler on the Roof, right? That again talks about how embedded in Jewish lore the sense of ghosts and demons actually is.
Oh, when he has the dream.
Where is she? Where is she? What are you talking about? These are Wolf's first wife. She was standing in here a minute ago. What are you talking about?
The sailor has been dead for years. You must have been dreaming. Well, tell me what you dreamt, and I'll tell you what it meant. Tell me.
Don't be frightened. That we were having a celebration of some kind. Everybody, we, all of our beloved departed, were there. Even your great uncle Mordechai was there, and your cousin Rachel was there. Your grandmother at sight, may she rest in peace.
Psych?
Well, for a woman of near 30 years, she looked very good. Naturally, I went up to greet her.
A blessing on your head
Mazel tov, mazel tov,
to see a daughter with,
mazel tov, mazel tov.
and such a son-in-law that no one ever saw. The tailor Mokil comes oil.
Mortal,
A worthy boy is he,
mazel tov, mazel tov,
of pious family,
mazel tov, mazel tov.
bringing him after my dear Uncle Mordechai. The tailor Mokil comes oil.
Hey, she must have heard wrong. She meant the butcher.
I'll tell her. You must have heard wrong, Grandma. There's no tailor. You mean the butcher, Grandma, by the name of Lazy Wolf?
No. I mean the tailor, my great-grandchild, my little fighter who you named for me. Muckles bride was meant to be. For such a match I pray. In heaven it was me. A fire standing by, a comfort and a joy. The tailor Mokil comes
Stop it!
We announced it already. We made a bargain with the butcher.
But he's a butcher. His name is Lazy Wolf. The tailor must come.
Top. Look, who is this?
Who is this? Who comes here?
What woman is this? My righteous hand is shaken. Could this be?
Sure.
Yes, it could.
Why not? Who could be mistaken?
It's the butcher's wife come from beyond the grave.
Who is she?
It's the butcher's dear darling departed wife. From the Sarah, from the Sarah, from the
What is this about your daughter marrying my husband? Would you do this to your friend and ever from a Sarah? Have you no consideration for a woman's feelings? Acting up on my belongings to a total stranger. How can you learn how? Can you let your daughter take my place? I'm in my house, carry my keys, and wear my clothes. Keys.
was brought on because you went to see that butcher. Have you? Have you? My grandmother Seidel, may she rest in peace, took the trouble to come all the way from the other world to tell us about the tailor. All I can say is that it's for the best and couldn't possibly be any better. Amen.
So I bring that forward to just, again, how embedded in Jewish folklore these ideas actually are, not just in the text, but in the stories that are told. So this idea of a Dybbuk, of being possessed, right, is not just from The Exorcist, that movie, but something, and not just from Catholic tradition or other traditions, but something that also is deeply embedded in Jewish lore, in Jewish stories. And the Dybbuk is a Yiddish film classic based on the celebrated play of the same name by S. Ansky, written during the turbulent years of 1912 to 1917. The idea for the play came to Ansky as he led a Jewish folklore expedition through small towns of Eastern Europe, which was cut short by the outbreak of World War I. The Dybbuk reflects Ansky's deep perception of the shtetl's religious and cultural mores, as well as his insightful appreciation of its hidden spiritual resources. And plans to produce the play in Russian by Stanislavski's Moscow Art Theater in 1920 were aborted by the Bolshevik Revolution. Ansky, who died in 1920, never lived to see his play produced. The play, however, was destined to become one of the most widely produced in the history of Jewish theater. Its rich ethnographic tapestry, mystical themes, star-crossed lovers, and haunting melodies were designed to bridge the historical abyss. Boundaries separating the natural from the supernatural dissolve as ill-fated pledges, unfulfilled passions, and untimely deaths ensnared two families in a tragic labyrinth of spiritual possession. The film was made on location in Poland in 1937 and brought together the best talents of Polish Jewry, scriptwriters, composers, choreographers, set designers, actors, and historical advisors. The film's exquisite musical and dance interludes evoke the cultural richness of both shtetl communities and Polish Jewry on the eve of World War II. And this is just a clip of the Dybbuk that has been restored. And I wanted to share this as one of the last pieces here.
Ale az milost kawalin alda kipe imem peter ihetsun diabe.
Können die Schule die Menschen und deren nicht die Goldgeloschen geboren Vater des Teils und
Nicht steu pei. Der Schumes von Verstorbenen kennen sich immer aus der Welt, wandern bis sie der Gräten der Ausleitung. Sind sie keine Schumes, deren mit Gilden im Chayes, Tisch und Zermuchen. Namu trefft, als vergoogelte Schumme, bringt einen auf fremden, lebendigen Gift, wo sie dir am Muli gewähnt. Du sie sah Bibu.
So she ultimately becomes possessed by a Dybbuk. It's a much longer story. This is just a clip of what was restored, and it is available for purchase. The film is available for purchase, but just to give you a taste of another aspect of Jewish folklore brought to light. And I see in the chat, does Judaism distinguish between demons and devils? So yes, there isn't yes. So there is a Satan, or this is where the word Satan comes from, and Satan is the deceiver, right? And there's a very well-known midrash about the appearance of the Satan to Sarah when Abraham and Isaac are at Mount Moriah, and the Satan comes to her and says, "Your husband has killed your son." And in hearing this, she dies, which is the juxtaposition of the end of the Torah portion of the Akedah, Vayera, and the beginning of Chayei Sarah, which begins with her death. There's no space between Abraham and Isaac coming down the mountain and hearing about the death of Sarah. And so the Midrash imagines that Satan, who couldn't convince Abraham not to take his son up onto the mountain, comes instead to Sarah and creates a terrible consequence in that way. So yes, let me stop the screen sharing. So yes, there is this separation between the demons and the Satan. You don't necessarily call him the devil, and doesn't necessarily have a power that is equivalent to God's or at odds with God. But does present a real threat to human beings. Yeah. So thank you for giving me this time to be able to talk a little bit about the Jewish occult and the stories that come through golems and Dybbuks and ghosts. Again, a reminder, next week we have our scholar in residence, Scott Fried, who will be speaking at our Friday evening service. There's a dinner that is available. You'll see that on the registration page. And then on Shabbat morning, he'll be with us for Tefillah and for Torah study. He'll actually lead that study. And then on Sunday morning, there'll be programs starting at 9 o'clock, and you can see the list of programs that are there that are available. Jeannie, you have a question about that?
Actually, I have a question about Rabbi Lowe. Would you have time to tell me the head rabbi, the chief rabbi in Tel Aviv was a Rabbi Lowe? Or is a Rabbi Lowe?
Rabbi Lau. It's a different Lau, yes.
That's a different Lowe?
different genealogy, yeah,
Okay,
different person.
okay,
All right, so
okay, thank you.
have a great week, and I look forward to seeing everybody next week in our Scholar in Residence weekend.
Take care.
Thanks, Rabbi.
Okay, bye-bye.